Welcome to Dungeon Lords! I'm Sage, and I am super excited to have you here, as this is my first video ever. Now, Dungeon Lords is a channel where we talk about character classes, character builds, and on the other hand, stories about my D&D campaigns. And that's what this video is going to be about. Stories from my descent into Avernus campaign. Now, cue the intro. Just joking, I don't have an intro yet. I will in the future. Alright, so, Descent into Avernus. Wonderful campaign. Super fun, super cool, very Mad Max in Avernus style, which is great. Avernus being the first layer of hell in the D&D cosmology. Now, for this campaign, I was originally going to have 4 players, but as life happens, didn't work out that way. So I have 2 players. Now, if you haven't read through... major spoiler warning for Descent into Avernus, of course. So if you don't want that spoiled for you, go ahead and move on to a different video. If you haven't read Descent into Avernus, it is a very brutal campaign to the players. To the point where it's almost mean, almost sadistic. Like, you read through the enemy blocks and you're like, okay, how's a party of 4 first-level adventurers supposed to survive this? They won't. They're going to die horribly. So I've done a little bit of modifying, a little bit of adding features, which is cool. So I gave my players the option to stick with a single class like normal, or to dual class, like old school Baldur's Gate style. Different than multi-class, where you level up, you pick one class, level up, pick a different class. Dual class is you are both classes at the same time, and you level them up together, but at a slower rate. And I can get into the mechanics of how that works later. So you're trading initial power and utility for kind of falling off long-term, especially if you're a spellcaster. But helps them survive the beginning of the campaign, right? And there's no guarantee the campaign's going to see itself to the end, because we're all human, and we're all adults, right? We have full-time jobs. For the most part, this video is taking place currently during the COVID-19 quarantine, so some people don't currently have their jobs. But moving on. Alright, so our 2 players we have the campaign. We have Vasar, Kyleath, and I threw in an NPC called Scrooge. Now, Vasar, pretty cool character. Rogue, Shadow Sorcerer, dual class. So pretty stealthy, pretty fun. Vasar's player character is really into kind of role-playing, talking through situations, kind of getting things done in unconventional means, which is really fun, really thematic. I really enjoy it. Kyleath is a succubus barbarian, which is really, really cool. And instead of a battle rage, Kyleath goes into a battle lust, which looks very sadomasochistic. Very fun in application. And Kyleath's player really just likes kicking down doors and killing stuff, taking the loot. So we have 2 very different play styles coming together for this campaign, which is pretty cool. And then Scrooge. Scrooge is an NPC I made, again, because this campaign is very brutal, very deadly. So 1, they needed a meat shield, and 2, healing is helpful. So Scrooge is a fighter cleric. Now, Scrooge's backstory. Scrooge is just a wee lad, just 14, and came from an orphanage where Vasar came in. This is an evil campaign, just getting you prepped for that, right? Vasar came in, convinced Scrooge, who was being horribly mistreated at the orphanage, to, what's a kind way to say it? I guess sever the chains that bind him? Kill the person who ran the place and ditch, right? So, that's Scrooge's backstory. Killed the person running the orphanage who treated him super poorly, tagged along with the party, and now runs around kind of as the joke character, basically, is what Scrooge is. So, Descent to Avernus. What's the backstory for Descent to Avernus? Well, you have 2 major cities, right? You have Baldur's Gate, where the campaign takes place, and you have Elturel, which not really... They're not on friendly terms, they're not in full-out conflict, it's more like a Cold War sort of situation, right? But the adventurers find themselves in Baldur's Gate. Something happens to Elturel, and refugees come flooding to Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate responds by doing a full lockdown. They close their gates, they're not letting people in, they're not letting people out. This is a time of emergency. And during times of emergency, the Flaming Fist, which is a mercenary band that kind of acts like the city guard, sort of, but for the poor people, get to conscript adventurers, with the caveat of, if you don't join us, we murder you. And level 1 adventurers, right, not a lot they can do with that. They're like, okay, well, I guess I'm part of the Flaming Fist now. So, that's where, boom, we plug in. The characters get conscripted, they're part of the Flaming Fist, and they are sent to investigate some cultists that have been causing havoc, murdering people, right? Abducting, murdering, probably sacrificing to dark gods, as dark cultists do. The Flaming Fist is busy keeping the city on lockdown, so they need the adventurers to go investigate this. So, Vasar and Kyleath get sent to a tavern to go see a contact, right? They meet the person, they're told, hey, the cultists seem to be going near this bathhouse, you should probably go check it out. They go there, fight some pirates, it's not really important, right? Make their way over to the bathhouse where these cultists are making their lair. They happen to go at night when it's closed. Well, they go during the day to have a nice day spa, right? Because who's going to pass up a day spa? But they come back later that night. And what they find is some assassins waiting for them. Because assassins are just chilling out guarding this place. I don't know. They brutally murder the assassins, way easier than I thought they would. But that's fine, right? Players like to feel good about themselves. And as they're doing so, they finish off the last assassin as a secret door slides open and a ghostly claw lunges for Vazar. Totally misses, right? But it's like, hey, there's one more cultist and a set of stairs. I bet that's where we need to go. Very handy. Because another thing about Descent into Avernus is there's parts where it's like, hey, this is pretty wide open, the characters have a lot of choices, they can do whatever. And then there's parts where it's like, there is this one thing that the players need to do. We're not going to tell you how to get there, we're not going to tell the players how to think about getting there, but that's what they need to do. So as a DM, you need to do a little work like, hey guys, push, this is what you're doing. And the door opening was me doing that, right? It was, hey, here's the secret door you weren't told to look for. Bam, it's right there. So, characters, of course, kill that cultist, go down into the stairs. This is a nasty area, which was really fun for me to tell them what kind of nasty stuff they were going to. It's basically sewage water. They're going down into this underground kind of caverny areas under a bathhouse. So it's wet, it's flooded, it's gross. Sewage leaks in from the sewer system. So this is just nasty, murky water. If I was an adventurer, that'd be the end of my career. It'd be over. I'd be like, no, sorry, I don't need golden loot that bad. I'm just not gonna step into that water. I'm going home. I'm gonna go find a quest for killing goblins. I don't know. But players being players, they were like, all right, we're going into this. Hey, Scrooge, push him into the dirty water. They don't treat him well. It's sad. It's very sad. But luckily, Vasar has prestidigitation, so he can just snap his fingers and clean muck off people, which is pretty cool. Okay, now, going down into these nasty tunnels. They find some secret doors, they find floating corpses, right? They're not looking into it too hard. They find a really cool room that has 3 doors with motifs carved into them of different dark gods, Baal, Bane, and Mercule. Now, I'm going to get this wrong, because I always get Baal and Bane confused, but one of them is the god of murder. The other is the god of tyranny, and the Mercule is the god of death and dark secrets. Really cool. I love Mercule, he's my favorite. So, they're going through this dungeon, right? They go to check out, hey, what's behind Mercule's door? And they find 3 cultists laying on the ground, seemingly dead, which of course is an ambush, right? But my players are smart, and they were like, hey, let's see if they're alive. And I'm like, cool, would you like to make a medicine check? And they're like, no, I'd like to throw a dagger at them. Which, a great way, right? Because if they're dead, they're not going to react. If they're alive, well, they just took damage. So, of course, they throw the dagger. Of course, it hits. Of course, the ruse is over, right? The cultists get up, combat starts. Kailaeth takes this opportunity to start cleaving skulls in with their great axe, as, you know, a succubus barbarian does. Vassar, again, trying to deal with things in a non-conventional way, starts having a dialogue mid-combat with the cultist. And here, as a DM, I need to make a couple decisions. One, once combat is started, do I stick with combat? Or do I leave options open for other routes? That's a tough one, because if I just stick to combat, combat runs smooth, that encounter's over, we can move on to the next thing. But that incentivizes my players to act like murder hobos, right? And I like more interactive, more flavoriness than just I kick down the door, I kill the thing. But if I go with the talking, now how much talking do we do before I'm like, your turn's over, we're moving on, you can pick up this on your next turn, right? And that's the route I went with. Now, having gone with that route, I have additional decisions to make as a DM. I'm like, this cultist, how bad does he want to talk? What's his motivation for talking? Why would he talk? And I thought about it, and I went, okay, they were all playing dead. Why are they playing dead? To get a jump and try and kill them? These are cultists of Mercule. They're wearing robes, right? They're not combat characters. So I'm like, no, they were playing dead in hopes that the characters ignored them, maybe looted them and walked away, right? They're not fighters. They're not set up for this. Somebody just came storming down into their dungeon and they don't want to die. So yes, he's going to talk. He's going to talk for as long as the players will let him, because the longer he talks, the longer he doesn't die. So, he's conversing, and we do some turn switching back and forth. Kailaeth's turn comes around, and she is butchering people. We go back to Vassar's turn. Vassar is talking. We go to the cultist turn. The cultist talking. And Vassar convinces the cultist to show them the Shrine of Mercule, which the cultist is happy about, because now he's like, maybe I'm not going to die, and I get to talk about my god. This is a double win. So he's guiding Vassar down the stairs to his altar when Kailaeth's turn comes around and has nobody else to kill. So they just take their hand axe out and huck it all the way across and just get him right between the shoulder blades, kill him dead. So they check out the Shrine to Mercule, pick up some spell books, which, as a caveat, is really rad if you have a wizard in the party. There are 3 spell books. At this point, you guys are like level 2, right? Level 2! And then a wizard gets 3 spell books. So if you're a wizard in this campaign, you're coming out pretty good. Now, they move on. They go further down the dungeon, right? Kick down some more doors. They kill some cultists. They find a lot more sewage water. It's pretty nasty down here. They eventually get to a point where they come across a Vanthamper, which is a person of kind of like nobility in Baldur's Gate. That name came up previously, not in this video, but in the campaign. Mortlock, that's the name, Mortlock of Vanthamper. So, backstory tying everyone together was they had a staged coup within the Flaming Fist to take out their superior officer because he was incompetent, and they weren't having that. It failed, and Mortlock knew that it failed. They find Mortlock down in this dungeon with a big old club, no armor. He's a hulking brute of a man, and he's trying to take on this lean man with a dagger and a skull face. Think like Red Skull from the old cartoons, right? Like his flesh is just missing. But Mortlock's getting his ass kicked, because this dude is a cultist of... oh, I don't remember which one. I think it was the God of Murder, right? So he gets some special things to do extra damage. The party coming up upon them, Mortlock recognizes them. The cultist doesn't give time for, like, let's assess the situation. He's just like, people are coming, I'm out. Dives into the poo water, swims his way up to some stairs, and starts going away. As he's going away, Vassar takes out a javelin and just hucks it. Gets him in the thigh. That would hurt. Really, really bad. So he's, like, clawing away to the corner, right? Party converses with Mortlock a little bit. Mortlock's like, hey, my family has conspired to kill me. Let's finish up with this cultist. There's some treasure in here. I'll show you where it's at. And I'm going to use that as payment to get you guys to murder my family in retribution. And Party's like, yeah, sure. Why not, right? Killing people's fun. Loot's fun. I'm down. So, they turn the corner to go fight this cultist, and Vassar just takes it. Dagger right to the belly. I think one of the cultist features is it gives him vulnerability, so he's taking double damage, right? Dagger right to the gut, drops down to the ground. This is the first drop of the campaign. It is also Vassar's, as a player's, first time they've ever dropped, ever. And they took it in stride. They took it really well. I explained, hey, you're not dead, but you are going to make death saving throws every turn. So, the combat continues. Kyleath just like a champ's hacking this dude up, using their battle lust, licking their great axe, hucking it into him. Scrooge, as a fighter cleric, Scrooge is actually statted up really well to be a meat shield, but Scrooge is a coward. So Scrooge is way in the back, casting healing spells on Vassar, bringing him back up so he can keep trying to fight. They eventually take down the cultist. They get the loot. Now, this loot is important. It is from Tiamat's Horde, that the Van Thampers were paid as some kind of payment to try and bring Baldur's Gate down into hell. But now the party's got that money, right? They make their way out of the bathhouse with a big old crown with like little dragon heads on it and some other stuff. And as they exit, there are some cultists, different cultists, lining the wall of this place with dragon masks on. Spoiler, they want that loot. Belongs to Tiamat, they're here to recover it, right? This is where that session ends, right? And in between this session and the next one, we recruited more players. So how do I bring them in? Wiggly woggliness, because there's other things going on. Now, between this game and the next game, we are having some player issues. Kyleath's player really doesn't care about what's going on in the campaign up to this point. They want to be down in Avernus, they want to get them some more rigs, and they want to raise havoc. That's what they're in this game for. And this is, I don't know, this was our second or third game of this campaign, right? So they're not having it. Vassar is having fun with what we're doing up to this point, but they're picking up Kyleath's vibes, and it's making them uncomfortable, right? So they came to me individually in between this game and the next one, and were like, hey, I'm not happy with this. Hey, I'm not happy with that. So Vassar came up with the solution, what if we expedite our descent down to Avernus? What if we skip some content and just go down there? Is that doable? And I say, this is my campaign. I'm God. Anything is doable. Because as a DM, you are God. So, what we do, we skip a bunch of content, we start going down to Avernus. There's some tricks to that. Now, also bringing in 2 new players. We're bringing in Aloysius, the Tabaxi monk, and we're bringing in Roz, the gnome artificer. Now, how do I do that? Well, knowing that we're skipping content, the party's not going to come across a Lulu, which is an NPC Hollyphant. Basically, it's a winged golden elephant, right? Really cute. But that is a major story hook for this campaign. And the players are just going to miss it, right? Because we're going to skip that content. Now, Roz is that player's character from a previous campaign set in a different setting altogether, more of a modern setting, right? So I'm like, hey, this golden-furred elephant appears in front of you, says there are things afoot, it's very important you come with the Hollyphant, right? And warps them to the party. Aloysius is already in Baldur's Gate. It's nighttime, kind of snuck his way into town and was like, I'm dirty, I'm gross from adventuring, I need a bath. So, turns the corner into the courtyard of the bathhouse, sees nasty, mucky, bloody characters coming out of it, cultists lined on the top, and then boom! Out of this portal steps a Hollyphant and a gnome tinkerer. Not tinkerer, artificer. My mistake. So, now this session is starting, right? And we're fighting these cultists. So Aloysius, seeing that the cultists are being very aggressive to these adventurers, is like, hey, I'm a neutral good character, I'm not having this. I'm gonna fight them. So, he is a Way of the Four Elements monk, right? Because I was explaining it, and I'm like, hey, so you have a few different choices you can do with monk, right? This one's a good monk. This one's a ninja monk. This one's Avatar: The Last Airbender. And his player went, I don't need to hear anything else. That's the one I'm going with. So, right away, he uses his Fist of the Fire Snake, right? Makes a 15-foot tendril of fire come out of his fist, totally incinerating one of the cultists. Pretty cool. We get to Roz's turn. Roz has no idea what's going on, right? But can tell these people are being attacked. So, throws out a canister-shaped little turret and starts pew-pewing these cultists with some force damage. Roz apparently rolls very, very high and was just hitting people right off this wall. The rest of the party finishes up, kills these cultists, and everybody comes together and they're like, hey, we don't know who you guys are, but we're happy you helped, thank you. We're going to go do this thing tomorrow. Would you like to come with for some money? And of course, being players, they're like, yes, I want money. So the players all go to the tavern for the night. They're going to rest up, and in the morning they're going to go see Mrs. Van Thamper and try and assassinate her. They rest, they get a full rest, right? They get all their resources back. But as they go out that next morning, this is where I hook that we're going to Avernus early. Right? They wake up, they walk outside, and they hear this big metallic clang resonate throughout the city. All the players decide to investigate separately. Now, I'm not big for splitting the party. Mostly because it slows down play. How that works realistically is you get a player, you're like, hey, it's your time, and then everybody else at the table, they no longer have any buy-in until it's their turn. They don't have any input, they don't have any say, they have no reason to pay attention. And that's when your game starts to slow and bog down and everybody gets on their phones until it's their turn. And when it's their turn, they go, okay, what's happening? And then they decide what to do. I hate that. And I try to avoid it as much as I can. I run short sessions, just about 3 hours long, because I don't like when you have 8-hour sessions where people need to be told what's going on their turn, then make a decision, and you do that again and again and again and again. That's not fun for me, that's not fun for the players, so I do short, concise, we're in this, we're doing stuff. I made an exception this time because we have 2 new players at the table, right? And they don't really have any buy-in or need to be with these characters. So I'm going to give them some, you do whatever you do, and then as a DM, I'm going to make you all come together later. So Aloysius decides he's going to go scout. He's going to climb the tallest building he can find. He's going to look, try and see what's going on. Roz, being former militia, former police, is going to go talk to the city guard. Vasar just cares about getting paid. So having dealt with the cultist, Vasar is going to go see the head of the Flaming Fist and be like, we took care of it, I want my money. Kyleath is taking the chaos of townspeople starting to run around in a panic and slaughter innocents. Because why not? This is the time to do it, right? People are panicking, they're breaking into stores, they're hoarding toilet paper as people do in an apocalypse. Side note, okay, players are coming back. Aloysius, what Aloysius sees is these big nasty iron hooks at the edge of the city, kind of like hooked into it, right? They see some nasty clouds going about, and the city is starting to slowly sink into the ground. Not good times. Roz, trying to find the city guard, panics and starts doing like combat rolls, going up against walls, diving between people's legs, ends up right back where they started, right? They rolled really low. Vasar does meet the head of the Flaming Fist, gets paid, while the head of the Flaming Fist is freaking out because there's people coming from him all directions. This is happening, this has happened, what's going on? And he's trying to deal with it. It's his job to keep the peace between the common rabble, right? Vasar gets paid, dips out. Go back to Kyleath. Kyleath is making a pile of bodies. Because why not, right? Just murdering innocents. Going back to Aloysius. The city is now underground and has kind of transitioned into Avernus, a different layer of existence, right? So now, around the city, it's red, it's very kind of darkish, there's clouds underneath them, and Aloysius sees these hooks tied to these chains, pulling the city down, and decides to kind of sit on the edge, kick his legs, and just kind of chill and hang out, right? Vasar robs a bank. Walks in, just does some kind of story about, I'm inspecting the vaults, move along peasant, goes in, grabs a bag of money, walks back out. These are not nice characters, but rolled very high on his charisma. Roz decides, I'm going to find the rest of the party. The city is now breaking out into full-blown chaos. The Flaming Fist is going around, just bam, knocking out townspeople because townspeople are freaking out, and the Flaming Fist is known for their brutality and their evil tactics, right? They're not good people. Kyleath is making a bigger pile of bodies because they just want to kill people. And that's fine, right? So, we are continuing on. Aloysius spots something running up the chain. Seems to be a demon, big hulking figure, slobbering jaws. And Aloysius decides, I'm going to run down there and fight it. This is Aloysius' first time playing D&D ever. He has no clue. Is this thing something I can fight? Is it too strong for me? So, he starts booking it Naruto style down these chains with spikes. Now, these chains with spikes are infused with infernal energy, right? And they will damage players as they run down if they fail a Constitution saving throw. He wildly succeeds it, right? This energy kind of crackles up on his legs and he just like brushes it off, keeps going, doesn't think twice about it. But as he gets closer to this demon, I have him make a wisdom save, or not saving throw, but a wisdom check. And he succeeds very high on it. And I go, okay, you don't know what this is. But much like your normal everyday person in the woods coming face to face with a bear, you're pretty sure it's going to eat you. And there's not a lot you can do about it. And he goes, well, then I don't want it getting into the city, so I'm going to fight it. And I was like, okay, you do you, right? First game ever. Maybe you're going to roll a new character as we go into our next session. We'll see. But he says, okay, I'm going to try and jump and do a backflip and hit it with my kunai chain and jump on top of the back of it and ride it up to the city. And I was like, okay, that's pretty rad. Let's see how you do. I think he got like a nat 20 on his roll to hit, so he definitely hits. On his acrobatics check, horrible. Just terrible. So we'll get back to that later. Going back to the party, they all kind of converge together, right? Vasar gets back to the party, starts divvying out the money. Kyleath is cleaning their axe from the horrible butchery that they did. And Roz is with the three of them like, stuff's going down, I don't know, but I want to be close to you guys in case we need to fight, right? massive demon comes barreling through the buildings, just like clipping off pieces of building, goes into this city kind of square where the party is, looking for food. Dangling behind it is Aloysius with his kunai lodged between its shoulder blades. He's dangling on the chain through the city, just da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And combat starts. It is a brutal, bloody combat. The demon gets 3 attacks per turn, has a very high hit modifier. It's eating people, just grabbing them up, chomping them. It's hitting people. It just uses Scrooge as a punching bag. It's terrible, and Scrooge doesn't do much to fight back. He tries, but he's slipping in puddles, falling on the ground, taking demon fists into his gut. It's a bad day. Vazar is doing equally bad. He gets bit, he gets punched, he drops down to the ground. Aloysius drops as he's getting pummeled. But luckily Scrooge, realizing he's not doing a whole lot against this thing, starts healing the party, bringing them back up so they can keep fighting. Kailaeth is just digging into this beast, using their reckless attack to get some strong hits right into its chest. The rest of the party is doing everything they possibly can. Vasar is trying to attack, trying to hide, tries to hide multiple times, none of which work, unfortunately, because that'd be pretty cool. But they're going through. Roz is using their turret to just shoot holes into this demon, and they're fighting. They eventually get it down to low health, and this is Scrooge's time to shine. He's had enough. He's been verbally abused by the party. He's been battered. He's been beaten by this demon. Yesterday he was covered in poo muck. He is not having it. He grabs his mace and he full on cracks the demon for a final blow, felling the beast. And that is where we end our session. The players all level up. Now, the XP we're doing is a little bit different. I'm doing kind of like milestone XP, where if the party completes a storyline objective, they get 2 XP. A single class needs 4 XP to level up. A dual class, how many fingers I got here, needs 6 XP to level up. They made it down to Avernus, 2 XP. They took care of the cultists, 2 XP. Aloysius, the other thing we're doing is for personal objectives, you get 1 XP. The whole party gets that XP. Aloysius wanted to protect the town. He protected most of the town. A couple people got eaten, but overall, they protected the town from the demon. So that is 1 XP. So they got 5 XP for this session. Everybody leveled up, which is nice. So, they're leveling up. Next session, we're going to see how are they getting out of Baldur's Gate and down into the wastes of Avernus. We'll find out next time. And this has been my video. Again, thank you so much. This is my first video. I'm really excited to have you here. Please like on the video, subscribe so that when my class videos come out, you'll have those, and when my character builds come out, you'll also have those. Now, if you would like PDFs of the character sheets as I make them, head on over to Patreon, where you can get those, you can get ad-free videos, and you can even get the opportunity to play D&D with myself, Sage, from Dungeon Lords. Alright, thank you so much, everyone. We will see you the next time.